edition of Paris-Roubaix this year. 199 riders setting out from Compiègne. Chilly air temperature, Paul, of 11 degrees, but what a race it turned out to be. And it was all spearheaded by a group of 8, which got away 23 kilometres into the race.
Yes, a very fast first hour of racing. 49 kilometres an hour covered in the first 1 hour of racing. Everybody wanted to be in that early morning breakaway. David Boucher of FDJ, Kenny de Haas of Lotto, Michael Kohler, Benoit Jarrier, Clément Koretsky, Tim de Troyer, Andre Schillinger and John Murphy. They built themselves at one stage a lead of almost 10 minutes, just at 50 kilometres covered. But what this race was all about was the cobblestones on the horizon.
Yes, it was really a hint of what was to come. At 81 kilometres, the big favourite, Fabien Cancellara, looking to repeat his win and go 4 in the win victories margin. He crashed when 2 teammates literally fell under his wheel, but he didn't fall off his bike and he did rejoin. At 75 kilometres to go, only 4 riders remained in the breakaway. The American John Murphy, Andre Schillinger, Tim de Troyer and Benoit Jarrier. But this was to be all about the favourites making their moves. And as the race over the cobbled sectors started to close together again, at 64 kilometres out, Paul, the big favourite looking for a record 5th victory, Tom Boonen, attacked in Orchy.
Hard to believe that at 64 kilometres to go, he would try and rip this race apart. And he reduced the leading group to 8 riders, but they were a different group of riders as he was joined by plenty of guys, but not the main favourites. Geraint Thomas, the rider from Wales and from Team Sky, was very happy to be in that group. But behind, a very big waiting game was played by Fabien Cancellara, the wearer of number 1 in this year's event.
Yes, it was Tom Boonen's attack that caused the final capture of the remaining riders up front. Most of the riders having had problems anyway in the Forest of Altenburg. The last 4 were wiped out and they formed a group of 12 riders. Tom Boonen, though, was having none of this. He was still driving this breakaway on as best he could. And as they entered sector number 10, the split in the pursuit was evident for all to see. 6 riders are now leading. But could they catch Tom Boonen at Sector 8? Sector 8, Cancellara was starting to chase with the rider who finished second to him last year in Roubaix, Sepp van Mark. And then, 36 kilometres out, Peter Sagan was having a go to catch the leaders.
Yes, but eventually when they headed down into Sizouan, the small town, at 28 kilometres to go, it all came very much back together. And as they started to take a truce, a lime green jersey leapt out of the pack.
Peter Sagan had also had his difficulties, added Cancellara with a bike change, but now 21 kilometres left to go. He was launching an attack, he was being chased. Van Mark and Cancellara were getting together. These were the heads of state now, throwing everything they had left to try and win this Queen of the Classics. It was turning out to be one of the best editions in many, many years. Sagan chased by Van Mark, Stuyber, Cancellara, De Becker, and then at 15 kilometres out, Cancellara, Van Mark, Stuyber and Degenkolb up alongside Peter Sagan. Just down the road though, Paul, Tom Boonen had found a force with Bradley Wiggins and they were trying to get back up to the leaders.
But then it was the Pavé de l'Arbre. The crowd turned out in style as they always do. Peter Sagan was still hoping to survive as they went over this very long section of cobblestones, but behind the pressure was now being applied by the group containing Cancellara, but not too far behind. Tom Boonen and Bradley Wiggins were forming an alliance, trying to get themselves back into this race. All last on the horizon was the final big section of cobblestones of the day, the cobblestone section of Hem. And strangely enough, it formed an 11-man leading group with about 10 kilometres to go.
Yes, it was truly a race of attrition and nobody would give this up. Just 10 kilometres away from the finish and there were still 11 riders in the hunt. All this, though, was laid to rest. 6 kilometres to go to the finishing line. Nicky Terpstra, the former champion of the Netherlands, launched an attack. Everybody was simply too tired to answer his move. And by the time he came down towards the track in Roubaix itself, his gap was enough to ensure victory. So as Terpstra came into the stadium all by himself, he was about to become the first Dutchman since Servaes Knaven in 2001 to win this race, and indeed only the 6th Dutchman in history to score. So Terpstra winning on his own, and in the sprint for second place, John Degenkolb, the German, taking second. Fabien Cancellara on the podium again in his 12th Paris-Roubaix. He was third, and Sepp van Mark in 4th place. The top 10 was completed by the Belgian rider Tom Bonen. It had been a great 112th edition of Paris-Roubaix, and it'll be difficult to better that in the year 2015.